What's up, everyone, and welcome into episode number 512, where it is my honor and privilege to introduce a special guest joining this episode, and that is SVSU catcher JT Thomas. How are you doing, JT?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining. I know that you had practice earlier today, so how's things been going over at SVSU? I believe fall ball is mostly done, so that kind of part is over for you, but just how was fall ball? How was just practice today? Just life in general over at SVSU?
It's been awesome so far. It's been a ton of fun. It's been an adjustment too, not just on the baseball side, but also school. I think that's what I tell everybody for the most part.
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I've always been a decently hard worker where I've grown up from, so I've always been going with baseball and lifting and velocity house I used to do. So I'm kind of used to the baseball schedule type of things, but the schoolwork was definitely a step up from where I came from as well. So I'm doing a ton more homework than I used to in the past. So
Hey, at least you still get a little bit of the fun part where you get to play baseball. It's not all schoolwork, but I'm sure probably baseball and schoolwork probably takes up a majority of your time if I had to guess.
yeah, it's still fun and I still love it. It's just the homework part is definitely a lot of it's been an adjustment since high school.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, homework, exams, school itself probably isn't the most fun thing in the world, but obviously, I know that you went to SVSU, obviously, to get an education. It's student
Right.
athlete first, right? Like, that's just kind of
Yeah.
the name of it. But we all know you went to SVSU to play baseball as well. Just how did fall ball go? Just kind of the transition from high school to college, because this is your first experience just not only in college, like you suggested, but also your first time playing college baseball and kind of experiencing what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's I would say the big difference for me is probably speed of the game has definitely went up since I've got to college. I've been pretty blessed that I've faced like good enough competition, but like here's definitely a step up. There's no doubt about it. And that's what makes it fun in my opinion. It makes it competitive and it pushes you to be the best you can be and that's what I'm here for and that's what I love competing for. So it's been a lot of fun. Probably one of the things that's challenged me the most is probably behind the plate, like sped up.
Okay.
Because like you got to be calling pitches, you got to be looking at your watch, you got to know what like your first and third signs are. There's just a lot going on, and it's definitely sped up since high school. So I've definitely had to take a step back and like breathe back there and just
Yeah.
kind of like do as much as I can to slow the game down.
Is that something you expected or kind of figured it was going to happen, or was that something that you thought, hey, maybe I've kind of had this schedule, maybe I've had some of these higher kind of competition, just tournaments, kind of obviously the school that you played for was, I believe, D1, so obviously you faced some really high competition. Did
For
you
sure.
really expect that, or was that a little bit more of kind of a surprise, even though you kind of play that high level of high school baseball in Michigan?
No, I would say I was expecting it, obviously, like you're expecting to go compete at a different level, but
Yeah.
I would say consistency is a big part of the things. Like I went to Howell High School, so we played in the KLAA, and that's a very, very, very good division in high
Yeah.
school baseball. I mean, I think state champion has came out of there 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
So it's like very competitive baseball. We see great pitching. At least I think in our conference, it between Brighton, Heartland, or like this year was Novi, and that was Yulee.
Okay.
They just got dudes, and
Yeah.
it's really fun to see that stuff. But I would say the big difference is consistency because they usually have one or two guys. Here it's like you go down the roster and everybody can throw, and
Yeah.
like that's probably been the main difference. You really don't. I don't want to say you get a breather of it, but like in high school, you definitely did. If that make like that sounds like big dog, and I don't want to do that, but like since I've came here, like there's just a lot of consistently good pitchers compared to high school, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Like, obviously, you have like the top dogs in high school. Those are kind of the
Hmm.
ones that go play college, and then obviously you have like the good high school baseball players, like the okay high school baseball players that don't obviously end up going to college to play their sport. Like, that's just kind of the
Yeah.
way it is. Most teams don't have kind of that quote unquote stacked roster. Now, there are some
Hmm.
teams in Michigan that did have that. Like one
Hmm.
example was Orchard Lake St. Mary's. It was like D1, 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 D1. Just
Yep.
there's obviously some teams that are like that, but then there's other teams where you're like, after we get past this kind of guy, there's a little bit of a drop off, and I don't think that's a disrespectful thing. I think that's
Yeah,
just
I
kind
agree.
of the matter of fact of what it is. But like for you now, it's everyone's best
Hmm.
player from high school now being at
For sure.
the D2 level.
Yeah, no doubt.
So obviously, fall ball just kind of wrapped up. And one thing that you
Hmm.
guys did during fall ball was kind of like a World Series stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I do want to talk a little bit more about kind of like fall ball because I know that so far you've been playing quite a bit of catcher, especially kind of in like the scrimmages that you
Yeah.
guys did. So
hmm
going through that, and you talked about kind of like repetition, kind of just settling things down. How long did it take you to kind of like settle things down and kind of understand a little bit more about yourself? Because I feel like that's the biggest thing is once you kind of understand a little bit more about the game, a little bit more about yourself, kind of the pace that it is. I feel like
hmm
that's when it truly starts to click a little bit more, and then obviously you start to improve more because of that.
I kind of said it earlier, but probably consistency is where like I kind of like settled in, if that makes sense. So it's like me seeing that pitching over and over and over, and me even catching that pitching over and over and over again. You don't kind of get that breath, if that makes sense, like you did in high school.
Yeah,
So I would say like settling in wise, and I'm not settled in fully even right now. I'm
yeah.
still obviously learning, and I'm trying to be as sharp as I can be. But I would say just consistency and the speed of the game for the most part.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, like the nice thing for you probably is because of that consistency, because being of a catcher, it's probably a little bit easier now for you to kind of like frame pitches, kind of understand a little bit more because obviously you work with those pitchers on a daily
Yeah,
basis. I'm sure it probably makes your job a little bit easier, maybe behind the plate, but then when you're at bat, like again, there's that
yeah, for sure.
consistency thing there that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, even like just trust with your pitchers. Like you come in as a freshman, you don't know like any of your guys that you threw. At least for me, like I didn't know anybody coming in, and like catching is a lot about trust. So it's like I trust my pitcher. I trust he's gonna hit my spot. So maybe like there's a guy in first base I really trust. Let's say Jack Sequin is the freshman that came here. I really trust him on the bump. I feel like he can hit a spot. So I feel like maybe I can go into one knee down position where I can frame the ball a little bit better. I can present it better.
Yeah,
Versus another guy maybe I still am not 100% trustworthy with yet. And that's okay. I'm still learning, right? I've only caught him for probably a month and a half. So
yeah.
I'm still learning him and I'm still learning his traits and that's okay. I'm just trying to learn and probably just zone in a little bit more.
Yeah, and speaking of learning, like it takes time. Like it's still stuff
hmm
that you're still trying to do. You're still trying to get better at baseball. You're still trying to get better at catcher. But one thing that obviously being a catcher is you typically start kind of at a young age, or at least most people kind of start playing baseball at a young age. Like when did you know that you were kind of meant to be a catcher? Was it pretty early on, or did you kind of transition to being a catcher a little bit later than maybe a majority of people would?
So I think the story was I was like 8 years old or something. And
Okay.
some like I think I don't even know. At 8 years old you play every position for the
Yeah,
most part where I grew
absolutely.
up. So I kinda I think one person got hurt or something and I went back there and at the time, it was my old varsity head coach that was my 8U coach or something like that. And
Wow, really?
yeah, it was a funny story without that. But yeah, so he put me back there, and I just kind of did well. I just kind of it picked it up kind of faster than others, and I kind of stuck with it ever since.
Did you enjoy it right away, or do you kind of remember, or is it more of just like, hey, this is what I play now, and this is just what my life's going to be?
I mean, I obviously love catching. That's why I do it today. But when I was younger, maybe that was just like the best position that I played at the time. I wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, I was decently fast, but I'm not blazing speed or anything. So I think that's just kind of where I fit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and no offense to you, no offense to any other catcher, but I feel like catchers aren't maybe necessarily known for being the fastest individuals, but they're obviously known for having
Yeah,
toughness and a really good arm as well. So it kind of balances out for that, in my opinion.
for sure. I agree with you.
Yeah. So because you play catcher, do you think like at least every baseball player should play it once in their career, and why or why not?
I would say it depends on the person, if that kind of makes sense. But I would say, sure, give it a try. I mean, you never know. I mean, especially if you're young, you just never know what you're gonna love. If that's whatever sport, if it's baseball, basketball, or it kind of goes for the same thing. You never know what position you're gonna like the most. So might as well
Yeah,
give
and
it
the
a try.
nice thing for you is that for your team where you played at, you got the opportunity to play everywhere. So you kind of got the opportunity to
hmm
understand, figure out things, what you're good at, what you're not, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, stuff like that. And obviously end up leading you to being a catcher.
Yeah.
So speaking of things that you enjoy, things that you don't necessarily enjoy, what would you say about catcher? Like, what are some of the things that you enjoy about playing the position? What, some of the things that you don't? Because I've heard quite a few people say kind of the same stuff for both of those. I feel like kind of the catcher and the kind of catcher mindset is kind of similar for a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah. definitely a positive is like building a relationship with my pitcher. I like that stuff. Obviously I'm still new, so I'm still getting there. But like I would say building a relationship with my pitcher, and then I love like if I haven't done it this year yet, but like back picking somebody is something I love. It's just always a good feeling.
Yeah,
Or even throwing a guy out is fun. Um, I would say probably the con. I wouldn't say there's a ton of cons, but I guess you could look at it that way. Is you're always in every play, so like there's always something going. Everything's on you. Like you're the general of the field, and that I guess to say it's a con. I like it personally. It keeps me in the game, and it really keeps me like locked in. If that makes sense. Maybe if I was in the outfield, I wouldn't be like so like go 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 go.
yeah.
Um, but that's just me personally. I think it keeps me really locked in. But a negative, I would say I would. I mean, I really love the position. Maybe and this sounds funny, an over excessive amount of pens. Um, that's probably about it. Because I mean, you cast like 4 pens. I mean, it's you can learn a lot from it, and I take that as serious as I can because it's like in-game reps. So but maybe like if you catch like 8 or something ridiculous, you start getting really tired, and maybe that's when you don't like it as much.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those things where you have certain pitchers that might text you, like, "Hey, can you catch a pen this day, this time?" Stuff like that. I'm
Yeah,
sure you'll probably get that the more you're at SVSU, and I'm sure you probably still get that at times. And I'm sure you probably say yes if
yeah,
you can obviously make it. It's not like you're not going to do it for the guy because obviously you get to know the guy, and you also get to have that quality time, but also get better, kind of have that prep for the game time as well.
yeah, for sure. It was we always call it pillar two. It's just be a good teammate. So whenever you're pitching, you just throw a pen. I always try my best because I'm still trying to build the relationships with them, and I haven't caught them a ton compared to the other catchers. So just trying to put myself out there.
Exactly. And I know you did mention back picking.
Hmm.
For you as a catcher, what's a better feeling, doing a back pick or throwing someone out?
Oh, hmm.
Or
I would
having a
say,
good black, though. Having
ooh,
a good black as well. I'll give you three
a
options
good
after
block
this.
is like it's all depending on the situation. If it's like
Okay.
the game, if we're up by a ton and like you just see somebody that's like kind of sleeping on first base and it doesn't mean a ton, and there's like let's say one out, or like and the game's just not important and I back pick somebody, like it's cool, like it feels good, but
Yeah.
probably it's not going to feel as good as me like guy in third base or in extra innings or something in bottom of the ninth and he like I make a saving block and the guy doesn't score. That's probably more important to me. Or like even if it's like a close play and I throw the guy at second base, where it's like the situation means something more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it just kind of depends, but obviously I'm sure they all feel really good. I'm sure they all probably get you
Yeah,
pumped up a little bit. I'm sure it
for
probably
sure.
gets everyone else pumped up. Like those are just small little things, but I feel like for a lot of catchers, and I don't know specifically for you, but it feels like a lot of catchers kind of pride themselves on their defense. Like if you're a really great defensive catcher, you don't see a lot of typically offensive catchers that are really good at
Hmm.
hitting because obviously defense, blocking, receiving, stuff like that is kind of the highest quality or like the most important, you could probably argue, but it's
Hmm.
probably one of those things that you kind of have to balance being more of a defensive catcher, kind of enjoying those things, but also
Yeah,
trying to do decently well at hitting too at that time.
yeah, for sure.
So, would you ever consider changing positions if your coach wanted to, or are you kind of all in, or do you love catching way too much to even make a, I don't say argument, or maybe even consider a change?
I mean, it would definitely have to be like a big push from Coach P or any of the coaches on the staff. I obviously came here for catching and I love it. So, um, and I'm not blazing fast, so I probably couldn't play the outfield as well as other guys. So, yeah, it's just a position I've always loved, and I probably wouldn't switch unless it was a big push from them. I would, I think if you wanted me to play somewhere else, I would nod my head and say yes, coach. But I would obviously love to play catcher.
I was just gonna say, it seems like for majority of catchers, they if they do change, it's usually like a first base, maybe a pitcher, depending on kind of the armor, maybe kind of like a
Yeah.
right field typically, because obviously the arm itself. But it's one of those things that like it doesn't happen a ton, but I've had people and talked to people that have went from being a catcher to being a pitcher, and I always
Yeah.
ask them, they're like, "Do you miss hitting? Do you miss catching?" And they almost always say like no for the most part because they're like, hey, like my body actually feels good
Right.
now. It doesn't feel like it's getting beat up all the time. But
Yeah.
I'm like, it looks more boring to me not having been in every single player being in the outfield. I know you mentioned earlier that like you probably wouldn't play outfield because of how like less involved you are. Like to me, that just seems boring. And playing catcher, you're obviously involved in every single play.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a guy, Nate Masser, is on our
Yeah.
team. He was I mean, I think he was a catcher coming in, and from what I can't speak completely the truth because this is just what I've heard, but I guess he just dealt last year, and
Okay.
I even in the inner squads he's been disgusting. So I think he's just
Yeah.
kind of been focusing on pitching. So I mean, I can't say anything. He's gross up there, so and it's not deniable. So
Yeah, he actually joined this podcast. We talked a little bit about being
oh,
a
I
catcher
gotcha.
and a pitcher as well. So that was obviously a really fun conversation. Sounds like he's going to be mainly a pitcher now, and it sounds like you've gotten an opportunity to catch him as well. So I'm sure that's been
Hmm.
quite a bit of fun for you. As a catcher, do you enjoy someone that throws like more heat? Like there's someone that throws like 93, 94, 95, 96. I'm sure. I think SVSU had like maybe a pitcher that was close up
Hmm.
to like the upper 90s. Maybe
Yeah,
even hit
it's
100
yeah,
last
Shelley.
year.
I did not catch him. He was I think he got drafted to the Cardinals. I'm pretty sure, but I did not
Yeah.
get to catch him. But yeah, he threw fuss. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, do you enjoy kind of those pitchers more, the ones that are going to be kind of throwing heat where you're going to expect that, or do you kind of enjoy more of like the breaking ball pitchers that like are throwing like nasty sliders or nasty curveballs or just stuff like that? Because obviously there's a different approach to it.
Yeah, I would say it comes down to back to what I was saying earlier with the trust factor.
Okay.
Um, if you get a guy that throws 95 and it's here, there, and like you just really hard to trust that guy.
Yeah.
So like I'm not going to be able to be like frame as much as I could if I had a guy that's like let's say 88 to 90, but like he hits his spots really well. Like you can trust him and you know where it's going. That sounds silly and like you should be like the argument could be like you should be able to catch no matter what. But like
Yeah.
in my opinion, I feel like if I can be able to trust a pitcher, I'll be able to work with him a little bit better.
Yeah.
So if the guy throws 100 and he can hit his spots, money. If he throws 100 and it's like in the other batter's box in the dirt, it would be a little bit harder, in my opinion, I think.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to the consistency thing, and like it's
Yeah.
something that probably at SVSU at kind of like the D2 level, you're kind of expecting someone to have a little bit more control of pitches, unless they're kind of a little bit newer, trying to again like just how good they are, like breaking pitches, stuff like that. Like there's going to be some pitches that are going to be a little wild, but it's probably a
Yeah.
little bit easier, obviously, at the D2 level in college when maybe prior to that in high school you have some guys that could maybe throw really fast, but it's probably all over the board. So I'm sure that's a little bit nerve wracking at points when they're not hitting their spots and you're like, I have no idea where this ball is going.
Yeah, it's a part of the game and it's a part of being a catcher, so you just gotta adjust and go from there.
Exactly. But I do want to kind of get back to the point that you made of like, it would really take a lot for your coaches to kind of like push you away from catcher because you enjoy it so much. You've been doing it for so long. Because of that, what is it like suiting up as a catcher, and just like how does your mindset change once you kind of like put on the gear and just get ready to go for practice, get ready to go for the games? Like, is it kind of just like a mindset switch that just happens where just like you just instantly lock in and you're like, okay, let's go?
Um, I would say when it's a little different. It's like I do a lot of things. It's like for pregame. It sounds silly, but it's always worked for me. Visualizing, like visualizing success has been a pretty big motivator in my game recently. So, even in like going back into late high school, like that's just kind of been a thing I've developed. And it was actually a tip my dad taught me. And it just sounds super simple and super easy, but like before games out, you just sit there like on the bench and like just close my eyes, take a deep breath, and breathe and like visualize success. And that's just something that's really helped me. Like even I take it into the batter's box. Like if I'm in the hole, I always visualize myself in the box trying to get set up. So like kind of the same thing catching there when I put on the mask and I always take like pregame stuff kind of serious because that'll go into the game obviously. So
What's like your pregame like routine? Obviously, you mentioned visualizing success. Is
hmm
it like catching bullpens? It like do you have kind of I don't want to say do you have like specific like things that you do or like you're pretty like superstitious at all or do you kind of like are you like this and this and this and this has to be a specific way or if it's not that specific way like something feels off?
yeah, I am a little superstitious. That's just a part of always of what I've always done. I can't speak a ton on what we do here for pregame
Yeah.
because I haven't like officially done that if that makes sense. But what I have done at Howell in the past is I would usually just kind of grab the pitcher, the starting pitcher, and we would kind of be on our own schedule. And I would do like my own individual stretchings, and we would partner stretch, and then we would go to the bullpen. And after he's done with his bullpen, either that or the catching coach at the time would come over and like help me do like a little bit of blocking. and I would do some transfers, and I would throw. So, and even like our catch play, like going into that game, that would always be like, hey, can you stop at like 130 feet so I can get a couple throws? And just dry reps, just trying to slow the game down. And if I can do the building blocks the right way, hopefully in game, you would obviously hope that you do it right there.
Yeah, kind of just like rep out, just trying to obviously prepare for the game, kind of get ready for the game. But then you obviously talk about the visualization that truly happens as
Hmm.
well, which kind of get your mind ready for the game. And obviously, like getting physically ready, mentally ready is a huge deal when it comes to needing to prepare well. And just how much of a change have you seen within yourself, within your play, since you truly started that visualization?
Well, it's been a big factor for sure. It was just one of those times where obviously baseball is a game of failure, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Everybody's been in the slump before. I know I hate saying that word, but like it's a part of the game.
Yeah.
But it really is a game between the years, and if you're going up to the plate and you're already wrong there, you're already going to be out in the box. So like getting my mind right is a big thing for me, and I just knowing the part of failure is a part of the game. So me visualizing success and like only focusing on success really helps me, and I've seen a lot of progress with that
Yeah, because baseball, you have Hall of Famers that fail 7 out of 10 times.
for
Like
sure.
when you're at the plate, if you have a 300 average, like you're doing pretty well. And like
Mhm.
defensively, you might have a pass ball, you might not have a block that maybe go
Yep.
as well. It's about how you respond, and I feel like that's the unique thing about baseball is that for a lot of other sports, it's not really a sport of failure. It's more of like going to matter on like wins and losses, and obviously baseball matters on that. Like you want to win, you want to lose. But a lot of other sports, you don't have like a 300 average. Like you're not going to fail 7 out of 10 times typically. So I feel like that's the biggest thing about baseball is there's not obviously only the physical aspect that you deal with on a single basis, but there's also that mental aspect as well that you have to understand. Hey, I'm going to fail more than I succeed, but if I still succeed 2, 3 times every single 10 at bats, I'm still going to be very successful in the long run. Just really difficult when you get there, especially when you're going on a slump. And like you said, everyone experiences a slump, and I'm sure that you
Yep.
probably experienced a little bit of a slump when you kind of got to SVSU and try and get used to a little bit of what baseball play was like at the D2 level.
Yeah, I would say I was pretty happy with like offensively. I thought I slowed the game down pretty well. Defensively is where it kind of sped up on me. And again, I'm not afraid to admit failure because it's part of the game. So
Yeah.
like just walking you through it, it'd be like one of my strengths in high school was growing up, I was just always young for my grade. Like my birthday is August 23rd, 2007. So, and
Okay.
there's guys like in 2026 class that have been like way older than me. And it's like, how does that make sense? But like
Yeah.
I started early. My mom was a kindergarten teacher and I could always count my ABCs. So she started me really early. So
Yeah.
thanks, Mom. But she signed me early, and I've just kind of always been young ever since then. So growing up, again, it sounds kind of dumb, but like puberty is a huge thing in high school, like
Yeah.
physicality wise. And I'm going up against like for example, we had a kid that was 16 in our grade. I think I was
Okay.
14 at the time, and it's just like you're competing against a kid that's 2 years older than you at the time that you when you haven't even hit puberty.
Yeah.
So like the physical size of my game back then was never really there. So I had to be good at the other stuff. Like receiving was a big part of my game, and now I come to here and it's like it's kind of flip-flopped. Like I've kind of worked myself into like getting bigger and stronger, and obviously I need to go a lot more, but
Yeah.
I would say for the most part it kind of flipped on me a little bit here since I've got here. The speed of the game's definitely sped up a little bit, and I think my receiving can get better, and that's seriously what I've been working on this past couple weeks. So I just need to keep doing that, and I'll be happy with it.
Yeah, now you're facing guys that are 20, 21, 22, 23, depending on maybe some even older than that. Like you're experiencing guys that are in baseball longer than you have ever been in
Yeah,
baseball that are bigger, stronger, that are throwing faster, that are running faster. Like it's just kind of
for sure.
obviously part of the transition from high school to college and going through that. And we've talked a little bit about that. But before we kind of get into a little bit more about SVSU and just kind of in general, more than just catching, because I feel like we've talked a lot about catching. I want to kind of get into more of your story, more of SVSU, kind of understand a little bit about the program. But was it something that you always kind of dreamed about doing, playing baseball in college? And if it was, why did you want to go to SVSU?
Yeah, I always wanted to play college baseball. I was never a kid that was like set, I gotta go here and then I gotta transfer there. I was just never that kid. I always wanted to go and play.
Yeah.
So when the SVSU coaching staff, it was actually Coach P who reached out to me. I was
Okay.
pretty pumped, and I just knew I went on a visit, and they were doing an inter-squad game. It was actually last fall, and I watched that game, and I watched some of the guys that like kind of talked after. I just knew that was the right place for me, and I loved it ever since.
Yeah, it's a coaching staff that is pretty young, but it's a coaching staff that has a ton of success, like right away. Like you talk about SVSU, you talk about the GLIAC. The GLIAC, in my opinion, one of the best conferences, not only in the state of Michigan, but all the entire the country. You have GVSU, you have you guys, you have multiple other Wayne State. Like you have multiple really good programs, and just kind of the level of athlete, the level of competition that comes with playing in the GLIAC, playing at an SVSU that has had the history that it's had, I can see why it would be easy to want to play there, not only because of the success, but because of the coaching. Because everything I've heard about the coaching, everything I've heard about like people's stories at SVSU is that they love playing for this coaching staff. That it's one of the most like down to earth coaching staff. They're very, very like straightforward with you, but it also helps kind of get the success that you want to do so. And that's what this coaching staff, that's what these teams have done the last few years. And I'm sure you're probably very thrilled to be part of that team. And hopefully in the next 4 years, you can continue that success.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely blessed to be here, and I've only been here for about 2.5 months or so. But I can speak very, very good on the coaching staff. They've been awesome to me, and Coach P, the guy always stays after and throws BP, and it's something light, but I tell you what, some coaches don't do that, and he takes time away from his kids and his family, and people definitely see that, and he definitely promotes work ethic. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and there's people that want to work hard. There's people that want to win there. That's really the whole thing is that you want to have that kind of buy and you want to have that like upperclassmen, those guys like help the younger guys, like help you out. And I know you have a couple of people, at least one person that you wanted to specifically talk about because you mentioned and you wanted one of these questions to be like, has any of like the upperclassmen or just anyone on your team like truly like helped you or kind of has taken you under your wing? Because obviously you've been there for 2.5 months. You're probably starting to figure things out, but there's still probably a lot of questions that you had early on, and there's still probably a
Mhm.
lot of questions you still have now until you get a year or two under your belt, and then next thing you know, you'll be those upperclassmen taking those young freshmen under the wing.
Yeah. When you asked that question, I was kind of excited because I got to shout out a guy. But Ryan Jarvis for sure. He's been a good role model for sure, and it just takes me under the wing a little bit. Just compliment me when I need to be complimented, and also tearing me down when I need to be teared down. My old high school coach used to say, "Pump up the tires when needed," and Jarvis has done a really good job of doing that and tearing me down at the same time when you stay level-headed, and he's just been doing a really good job at that. So
Yeah, I know Ryan. Ryan is a great guy. Ryan's actually another SBSU player that has joined the podcast. So love that you mentioned a couple people that joined the podcast. Great guys.
for
Really
sure.
fun episodes as well. But I think one thing that you mentioned there that's super important. Obviously, bringing someone up when they need to is obviously extremely important. But it's also one of those things of like you talk about kind of tearing someone down a little bit. And I
Hmm.
feel like there's a little bit of a negative connotation to that. Like, why do you want someone to tear someone down? Like, that doesn't sound like a very good thing. But there's a way you can do it where it's more about trying to fix the things that need to be fixed in the right way. That
For
if you
sure.
can do it in the right way, it's actually going to build a person up faster than if they continued to do it wrong. And I'm not saying you are doing it wrong. I'm not saying every single athlete, every single person is like perfect in their sport because people make mistakes, right? Like we've
Yeah,
talked
for sure.
about mistakes, we've talked about failure, but it's about building you up through that failure. That like when sometimes you need to be corrected, there's that upperclassman that can truly help you out. And it truly seems like Ryan and obviously the other teammates that you have not only helped you in that process, but also helped build you up through that process as well to kind of continue to grow the confidence that you have. And it truly seems like it's had a big impact on you.
Yeah, for sure. They've done a really good job.
So, like, are the teammates, are the coaches kind of the way the process works? Is that what truly stands out about the baseball program for you? And is that why you're so excited to kind of be there? It's just the way that they approach it, the work ethic that you've seen, just kind of the process of getting better? Is it more of like team chemistry? Is it more of, I don't know if you guys have specific traditions that you guys do. Like, what to you kind of stands out about SVSU and why has it made it so easy to kind of like buy into what they're doing, make you so excited to be there?
I just think they do a lot of the right stuff. And do the little things well as well. Like they don't skip over little things. They talk about detail a lot, and that's a big part of baseball. Definitely game of inches, and if you're not doing the details right, it's gonna catch up to you in the long run. And the higher and the higher and the higher you go, and you play baseball at a higher level, the more the details matter. So they definitely harp on them, and they do a really good job. And I think they preach the right stuff. And like I'll say like base running, for example, like a good time to break me down. Um, I always have been a catcher my whole life, and
Yeah,
even in summer ball and definitely in high school ball, I did not run the bases. There's a courtesy runner, and I get here, and it's like there's no courtesy runner anymore.
yeah,
So it's like I'm like, so I'm definitely a little new. I haven't done it in 8 years, and
okay.
the coaching staff has definitely done a good job of breaking me down. But at the same time, like when I do those things right, they also give me a compliment, and that's what makes you want to keep working at it. And they do a good job of that. Ryan Jarvis has also helped me with, or yeah, Jarvis has also helped me with that, and
Yeah.
just holding me accountable to that stuff and make sure I'm still keeping working on it. So,
How do you like base running now that you don't have that courtesy runner? Are you enjoying it a little bit, or do you kind of wish there was that courtesy runner right there? You can be
um,
honest.
yeah, honestly, it's an adjustment. Like, I'm not gonna say I don't like it, but like, I'm definitely new at it. So it's like I kind of got thrown into the Shark Tank, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in high school. I haven't done it in travel ball, and then boom, I'm doing it in college, and it's like, so it was definitely a learning curve. But and trust me, I still got a lot more to learn, and that can be a lot smoother. But towards the end of the fall, I was base training a little bit more, and I felt a lot more comfortable out there.
What do you think is the hardest part of base running? Because we've talked about like the hardest parts of catching, we talked about the physical part, we talked about the mental part. A lot of people don't think about base running. They're like, well, you just run the bases, right? Like if someone gets a single and you're on first, if they don't have a great arm in like right field, you go to third, or like you just listen to your coaches. Some people might say like, hey, there's not a ton to go into base running, but there is a lot more that goes into base running than the typical person would imagine.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more than I knew coming in. I just never did it a ton, so I wasn't very sharp on it. So, I mean, dirt ball reads, they preach about that a lot here. Just like being aggressive, like forcing guys to make good plays to get you out, not just staying cautious on the bases. Knowing your arms in the outfield. So, if let's say like Shibe is a great center fielder, or even Mead is a great center fielder for us, they both have cannons out there. So if it's like a shallow like fly ball and you're on third base and you want to tag or go forward, you might want to rethink that. Versus if
Yeah.
you're playing like Wayne State and there's a weaker arm in right field, like you know that, and you got to know that here. And also like stealing, so like vaults. I don't know if you heard of that, but it's like traditional leads and then there's a vault lead. It's
Okay.
like just kind of timing out the pitcher and getting a better jump. So those are both new stuff, and I'm just trying my best to get that under my wing as fast as I can.
So you did say that like obviously you had some moments where they told you right. Like have you had like any like welcome to college moments when it comes to base running or just college in general that you're like, okay, like this is quite a bit different than anything I've experienced? Or have you tested one of the stronger arms in the outfield and let's just say it didn't necessarily go as well as you were hoped?
Um, I would say just base running. I've been, like I said, I was been pretty fortunate to play like decently high level baseball in the summer and then my whole life and then leading up to a good division in Howell, obviously. So I've been pretty blessed like with that competition wise, but base running was definitely like a little wake up call because I haven't done it. I kind of got thrown into that tank. So I kind of felt like I was behind and I need to work on that stuff. So I'm still learning, obviously, but I'll give a shout out to the other catcher, Joppy. So we talk about like dirt ball read. There's one of them, the pitcher spiked like a 50-footer, and I saw it out of the hand, and I was trying to be aggressive. And Joppy made a great pick, and he tossed me out by a mile. And it was like one of those where I just gotta kind of like experience-wise, it's gonna come more and more as I do it. But he made a great play, and you just gotta tip your cap.
And it's one of those things that like sometimes the best experience is kind of going through that, like making that mistake, kind of realizing where that mistake happened, how can you better improve it, or what can you do differently. Like sometimes again, the best lessons are ones that happen through failure.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not in the moment. You kind of feel like
No.
half in the moment, you kind of look stupid, but looking back on it, it's like, yeah, I can definitely learn from that, and that's all I can do is learn from your failures. So,
And it's one of those things that like I don't think anyone expects anyone to be perfect, especially for you in kind of your position. Like you haven't been playing college baseball for that long. Like I don't think anyone's fully expecting though like JT has to be perfect in everything that he ever does. And you even have like juniors and seniors that aren't perfect that make mistakes. Like it's obviously like not like expected, but it's one of those things that like obviously you don't feel very good at that time, but like it's valuable learning, it's valuable lessons for you. And I'm sure there's probably some points where you have something like that happen where you maybe like laugh it off a little bit or something like that, and then you just kind of go kind of do the work after and just continue to get better.
Yeah, it's I definitely try to hold myself to be the best I can be. So like when something like that happens, it's like obviously a little bit of a kick in the butt. So you gotta kind of take that and then after you reflect on it. So I've just been trying to do that as much as I can. So obviously this stuff is new for me, so I'm trying to just be the best that I can be and try to help the team win. And when I do something wrong, it stings for a second because I'm actually hurting the team. So I always try to put the team above me, and when I do stuff like that, it sucks in the moment, but I'm just trying to learn as much as I can and be better after that.
Exactly. And speaking of helping the team, obviously the spring, when the spring comes, that's when the real games start. That's when the real season starts. What are
For
you
sure.
looking forward to the most this spring? Is it continuing to learn? Is it hopefully getting some action in the game? Is it like just wanting to obviously help the team with success? Or just trying to see how far you guys go?
Yeah, I'm just trying to help my team win, full honesty. Like whatever role that is, whatever Coach P sees me as, like I want to do that role as best as I can. And obviously I want to go compete behind the dish and I obviously want to compete in front of me, like at the plate as well. So I think I showed what I can do and I'm just kind of stack good days in front of the other and putting the right foot in front of the other and that's all I can do. And I'm just trying to help the team win as much as I can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sure obviously one of your guys' goals are to not only compete for the GLIAC, but also win the GLIAC as well. I'm sure that's a team goal. I'm sure you probably have individual goals, small goals as a team as well. And because of that, I do want to kind of finish with this question with two other questions after this. But like, what are some of your goals? What are some of your team goals? I know you have mentioned like obviously helping your team out. Like that's a big goal. Obviously that might
Yeah.
be your only goal. You might not have necessarily individual goals, but like when it comes to the spring, when the first year of baseball is done for you, what do you hope to accomplish? What do you hope the team accomplishes?
Yeah. Everybody says road to carry. So like obviously we gotta start and that's a big picture. My going back to my dad, I always said you got to look in front of you, not 20 miles ahead of the road. So you got to take it step by step, and you got to win the GLIAC. You got to win some games. I mean, and you just got to keep stacking good days in front of the other. And we obviously, Coach P always had a shirt on that says "Road to Carry," and I think that'd be an awesome experience my freshman year if we could go experience that. So that's definitely a goal. Individually, yeah, I just want to help out the team as much as I can. I want to prove that I can help, and that's all I can do. I just want to keep putting my foot down and as much as I can. I want to help the team win.
Exactly, and the road to carry. Like, who wouldn't love going to the
That'd be
World
awesome.
Series? Like,
Yeah, that would be super cool.
it's one of those things that like not very many get people get to experience it, and not very many people get to be there. Not many people just get the opportunity to understand what it's like. And it's obviously not going to be easy. Obviously, it's not going to
Hmm.
be a straight path. It's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to go up, down. It's about playing baseball, playing it the best at the right time, and hopefully getting it at the right time. And I do truly think that you guys obviously have the talent to do so. Obviously, I know that's the goal. I know that's been something like you mentioned that you've been talking about that you want to achieve. And you're in the conference to do it. Like you're going to get tested every single day. You're going to be facing some great opponents every single day. You're going to be facing your rival GVSU probably quite a bit.
Hmm.
How are you feeling about that? Like, are you
Um,
excited for the rivalry? Have they talked a little bit about the rivalry? You don't obviously have to go too much into detail. You haven't experienced it yet. I don't want to have you say anything, but how are you feeling about facing GVSU this year?
yeah, so obviously that's all new stuff to me, but I can speak on my team itself and what I've seen so far. We got a lot of really, really good guys. Whether that's at the catching position, like all of our catchers are very good catchers, and it's like it makes it a lot of fun. And even like first base, second base, we have a really good team this year, and I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see where that leads us. And I think we're going to be able to compete, especially with our coaching staff. I feel like I talked about it earlier. They preach detail to a good amount, and I think that truly carries, and I think they care about us a lot outside of baseball as well. And they just do a good job overall. And with that, and then with our team being as strong as it is, I'm excited to watch us play.
And I love the fact that they're preaching detail because a lot of people don't think about that, or that's kind of the way baseball has been going because there's obviously like technology nowadays, like knowing obviously the outfielder's arms, knowing like specific things like what someone's good at, what someone's not good at. Like for you,
Yeah.
like you have to kind of know almost every little thing because you're in the action every single day. Has that been a little overwhelming, kind of having to call pitches, understanding the pitchers, kind of understanding everything because you're the leader of the team. If we want to be
Yeah.
completely honest with you, the catcher's kind of deemed the leader. Like, has it been a little bit overwhelming, or do you kind of take it in and kind of like thrive off of that because you understand that hey, that's just kind of the role that you're supposed to be in, and obviously it's a
Yeah.
lot and it's going to take a while, but it's one of those things that you probably really enjoy about it.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I would say it's a little bit different from high school because let's just put an example like coming here as a freshman, trying to be a leader. Like you have like seniors at third base, seniors at shortstop. So it's like it's a little
Yeah,
bit different and I wouldn't say like bad, but it's definitely different if that makes sense. Like
yeah.
me trying to be like a leader compared to those guys that's been there in that position for a couple of years versus me being like a senior in high school and the other guys are being a little bit younger. So like that aspect of it is a little bit different, but like I love the challenge, man. Like I lead the same way and for that guy's a senior, we're all part of one team. And I think everybody on the team, whether that being the infielders or the pitchers, they do a really good job of just being a part of that and like understanding their role and also helping me out.
And as a catcher, what do you think about like the pitching clock? Do you enjoy that? Do you like kind of having the quicker pace, or do you kind of wish that you didn't have that as much?
Yeah, it's just another factor. The game speeds up a little bit. I actually don't call a pitches. I did in the fall some games, but like
Okay,
I think once spring comes, we have like pitch count. And
okay.
it's just like a band I wear in my wrist. So and it flashes for like 5 seconds, but we only have 20 seconds. And if I just blocked a ball, I got to get my butt back up there and go sit down and like look at it, get the pitch, know what's going on if it's the first and third. So it is a little bit different. And I just talked about earlier, like slowing the game down. And I think that's going to come as more as I get practice. And yeah, I think that's an experience I got to just keep working at.
Hey, at least you don't have to worry about calling pitches. At least you can just call the pitch that the pitch calls. So that's at least one thing off your plate, but there's still a lot
Yeah.
more on your plate. I'm sure, like you talked about, you just want to continue to learn. You want to continue to get more comfortable, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get.
Yeah, for sure. Even the pitch calling, Coach Mertz, our pitching coach here, does a great job of calling pitches, and I'm still learning from what he likes and what he doesn't like. Like, people just have different opinions, and he does a great job so far, and I'm definitely excited to learn a bit more from him.
Exactly. So I want to kind of end this on two last questions. I know you gotta
Yeah,
get going, gotta get dinner here before we end here, so I won't take
yeah,
up too much longer of your
no worries at
time.
all.
But what has it been like playing just baseball, and what have you kind of learned about yourself, and how has it shaped you not only playing baseball but playing catcher, and just what has it taught you about life, taught you about the person that you are? Because there's so many different lessons that you can learn from not only sports but kind of the position that you play.
Yeah, I mean, baseball has been a big factor in my life. I've always loved the game, and I would say the biggest thing for me is like connections of people. Being a catcher, like you got to be vocal and you got to be talkative. So if you're the general and you're not saying anything back there, or you're not saying anything in the dugout to motivate your guys, in my opinion, you're doing something wrong a little bit.
Yeah.
So, that trait is going to help me. And like, I know I want to go into like something with talking with people. And I think I gained that trait from baseball a little bit and just kind of learn how to fail. And life's not going to be amazing as well. There's going to be some curveballs thrown at you. So learning that a little bit, how to take it from baseball is hopefully going to be helpful in the future.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as probably an introvert as a catcher. You really can't be an introvert. Maybe you can be a little bit, but probably brings a little bit more of an extrovert out of you when you're a catcher if you're an introvert as a person. But like you said, you really can't just be quiet back there because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like even like tying it back, it's a little bit different for me. Like as a senior last year in high school, like knowing these guys for 3 years, and it's a little bit different for me coming here trying to motivate a guy I just learned like him about. So everybody's a little bit different, and like pitchers especially in high school, I kind of knew who to kick in the butt, like we talked about earlier, and also be like go out there and be like, hey man, you got this, like you're our guy, like take a deep breath, we trust you, like your defense is behind you. So it's like I'm still kind of learning how to do that with some guys, if that makes sense. Again, I'm just it's all new for me, so I'm just trying to take in as much as I can and do the best I can with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And maybe in a couple of years or maybe in the future, we'll have you back on to talk a little bit about it. And we'll probably look back on this and you're like, wow, like what was I experiencing back then? Like, hopefully that'll be one of your experience, and you're like, wow, I was really saying those things, and now obviously things are starting to click a few years down the road. But obviously we don't have to do that. But I'll kind of wrap up with one last question. As someone that's playing college baseball right now, what kind of advice would you give to someone that wants to be you next year in a couple of years that want to kind of be at the Division 2, division maybe Division 3, or just playing college baseball as well? Like, what kind of advice would you give them to not only achieve that dream but help get them to their kind of like advice that helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah. I would say it is a little stressful for new guys coming in because I've been in those shoes. Definitely go where you want it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Some people go to like a big school and they kind of get lost in the numbers. So like if you're gonna go play college baseball, go trust the coaching staff or like go to an inter squad game and like watch them play. Like a big part for me, what I like to hear a lot was the environment the players made. And I thought they did a really good job of that, and that was a big attention getter compared to the other schools. Like the guys seem really tight and they all communicated really well, and the coach did a great job of feeding that energy. Um, so that was a big part for me. Go where you wanted, trust the coaching staff, and know the people around you in your environment is what I would say.
yeah, and go where it feels like home. Like, it might
Yeah,
not
that's
be.
another thing with the school. Obviously, school part of things is a
Yeah,
huge factor. So if you're going to a school that doesn't have your agree to want, don't want, I wouldn't go there. You got to put that in front of everything because if you get injured or something, like God forbid something happens bad, you got to have a backup plan. So, like, I'm lucky that SVSU has like financial stuff that I want to go into in the future. So I'm studying finance here while also playing the game of baseball. So it was a great fit.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's probably one of those things that like you would obviously love to play professional baseball afterwards. Like, I'm sure that's probably a dream of yours. I'm sure that's a childhood dream that you'd always want to do. And obviously I do hope you achieve that, but obviously there's the academics part of it, and like it needs to continue to like set you up for the rest of your life as well. And if you
For
only
sure.
go to a specific place to play baseball and like you said, you get injured or maybe you're not enjoying it as much, then like why are you going there? But that's not why you end up at SVSU. You end up at SVSU because of not only the team, but obviously you talked about the academic side of things, the kind of
Yep.
feeling like home. And I feel like that's one thing that people don't talk about. Sometimes people talk about like, hey, I want to play D1, and they'll go to D1 and they don't necessarily enjoy it. But sometimes it's more about where you're at, where you want to go, the people around you. And it truly seems like not only what SVSU baseball has going for itself, but the just school as a whole is it truly seems like it's a close knit community that wants to succeed, that wants to play for each other, that has been successful, that will continue to be successful because of that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. They do a really good job of that here.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you've been enjoying it a lot so far. Obviously, you still have a lot more to go. Obviously, you still have the spring season left to go. So, one thing I always say to anyone that ever joins is if you ever want to come back on the podcast at any point, would love to absolutely have you on. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great conversation. But another thing
Thank you.
is best of luck to you. Best of luck to the team as well. I truly hope that you guys have a great year this year, great couple years as well. I know you still have, like I mentioned earlier, a little while left to go at SVSU. This is just the start of your journey, but really appreciate you joining. Hope it was worth your time. Hopefully you had
Yeah.
fun, and would love to have you back on the podcast at some point, maybe in the spring, maybe in a couple of years, depending on how things go if you're interested.
Yeah, that sounds great. I really appreciate your time and having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that is a wrap to episode number 512. Thank you again to JT for joining, and tune in to the next episode.